Okay, there we go. Now we're moving on. Okay, guys, so here we go. Our first project is going to be this cable right here. This is distributor signal wires. This is a Hall effect distributor ignition. And those three signal wires go over to our ignition module, which then, of course, fires our coil. And among problems we're having, ignition seems to be a big one. It's running very poorly until it gets up to high RPM. And I've checked fuel, I've checked compression, done a little bit of repairs to everything. A lot of new electrical stuff here that we found. And one big problem is that when I bought this car, this 3-wire shielded cable here had been either replaced or disconnected and reconnected. He had some pretty sketchy crimp connections right here. And they were completely loose. I was able to just pull each of these connectors apart with no problem by hand. And that's probably not exactly how it's supposed to work. So what I had done was I had gone in and I'd soldered each of these guys and wrapped the individual wires with electrical tape, except for this ground wire here, because he's the one who shields the entire thing. And he didn't seem like he was touching anything, but that might not have been the right thing to do. So we're going to take this apart. We're going to see if we can get these wires out of their little connector and fix these a little better than we did before. Because if I jiggled this while the car was running, it would still want to die on me. Which tells me I didn't really fix it correctly, did I? So we're going to try and cut through all this electrical tape without cutting through the wires, because I'm not sure how much wire I've got left and if these little pin terminals in here are going to be reusable, or if I have to use the little stubs of wire that are on there. I mean, these solder connections are still in really good shape. So I'm not sure why this thing is so touchy, but it is. And it felt like it had a good connection inside the distributor. Maybe that's where the problem is. Maybe these pins aren't connecting with that very well. So I think what we're going to do is we're probably going to alligator lead and jump these guys from the pins inside the distributor there straight to these wires, and see if that ends up fixing our problem. If it does and we run better that way, we'll know it's in the connection here. If that doesn't fix our problem, then we'll know it's either with this cable, probably these solder connections, or further on down the line. I'm going to see if I can figure out how to get the pins out of this guy. And the tool we're going to use for that is going to be a little dental pick that I've abused and destroyed by now, but he's still about the smallest prying instrument that I've got. See if we can find out how to get in there. I don't want to hurt the plastic because I don't have another one of these connectors, but I do want to get these guys out of there. If I knew exactly how they were in there, it would help, but I don't, do I? Cool thing is I can kind of see down in there through the plastic. I don't know if it shows up on camera, but I can see my pick through the sides here, through the wall. So I'm thinking if I can get down there, push in on him, I'd be able to get these pins to just pop right out. that would be ideal, but I have tried that before and had no luck, so not too hopeful just yet. Oh, that felt pretty good. Ooh, got him. Okay. Now that I've got one out, I can see it's simply held in by a sort of clip. And I'm actually supposed to go down through the center of the pin and push it out. So come up from the center on this guy. Nope. These guys are rather unpleasant. I did tinker with these connectors before, trying to get them to sort of pinch together a little bit better, hoping they would. Might have just gotten that ground one to come out. Yep. Okay, I got the red ground. He's doing good. Let's get this brown guy. But I was trying to reach in there and pinch these connectors closed a little bit better in the hopes that they would grab onto the little posts that are inside of that distributor or on the socket in that distributor, however that's supposed to be described. Don't know, don't care. As long as I can make metal touch metal and get it to work, I'm happy. There we go. Okay, so inside of this connector here, just got 3 little ports that come down here. And then these wires are the ones we need. So let's go ahead and figure this out. See, my solder connections are still good. I can tell that. Like, I mean, I can yank on this guy pretty good. So my guess would be that we're not getting a good connection down in here. There's a black plastic housing right here, and the pins where we make contact are inside of here. Leads to a Hall effect sensor inside the distributor. So I'm thinking if we were to alligator clip each of these guys to his corresponding terminal, we would be okay, in theory. I'm not sure. It looks like these terminals might have been undone and redone. I mean, this is like a hard red, almost crimped connector. It's crimped into the into this little weird spadey type doohickey. So all these guys seem to have a pretty good spring on them. I don't understand why they wouldn't just click right in when you feed them in here. But they don't click. They sort of just slide over it nice and easy, and they don't provide much pressure. Yeah, they don't provide a whole lot of resistance, and just doesn't fill me with confidence that it's making a good connection. Yeah, they just pop right off. No problem at all. I don't know what's going on, guys. While we're here, though, we're going to drop spark plugs back in. This is kind of the problem I'm having, though. This is number 2. And for comparison, number 2, number 3, I'm hoping it shows on camera, but number 3 is significantly more carboned up. And the first time I took these out, these guys, 1 and 2 here, were perfectly normal, clean looking. Not lean clean, but way better than this. And these guys were still all roughed up like this, 3 and 4. And so I just ran compression test on it. And it's cold, but everything's okay. So, I don't know. I mean, they're all even. I don't know. I give up on this thing sometimes. At this point, my big worry is containing our leaking fuel distributor. If that all sets up nice, then I'm way less worried about this car. It runs really rough, but it ran really rough on the retreat from Moscow rally. We made it 3,500 miles and the car still lives. So let's go ahead and put some spark plugs in here. I'll give you a little better angle at what I'm doing. It's not real easy to see though. These guys are tucked in there pretty good. These engines are a backwards mounted inline 4, kind of more like a slant 4 really, the way it's sitting in here and how far you have to reach in to get these spark plugs. It's a lot like putting spark plugs in a V8. Half of a V8, I guess. But yeah, it's real weird. It's mounted backwards. All the accessories are up at the front of the engine, but that's the front bumper of the car. Right up here. This is the front of the car. Back of the engine. Real weird. But you don't ask questions when you've got a Saab. You just deal with the funky engineering and assume that it'll eventually work. That's the lemon's way. You buy a car, you hope it works. You hope long enough, eventually it works. Or you're at the end of the rally, or you're broken down. In whichever case, you don't have to drive the car again until you sign up for the next rally. There we go. So we're going to figure out a bunch of electrical today as well. We have the all the engine wiring up here. It's just sort of here. A lot of this is very poor wiring. A lot of insulation has rotted off of wires, causing bare wires to touch together inside of harnesses. So we're going to try and chase that down. Hopefully we can get every wire back to his original switch and sensor, because a lot of these aren't matching up with electrical diagrams that I have. And the ones that do match up are still a little sketchy, and I'm not 100% sure if they're correct, what's been worked on and what is factory. But in the meantime, I can list the new parts that we've got on this guy. It's all underneath. It's not going to help us run any better at all, except our new plug wires, because we electrical taped on the winter rally, and it worked, but it wasn't great. So we got plug wires up here. We have an intake gasket because I took him off and cleaned him up a little bit. We did brakes all the way around. We've got shocks all the way around. If you're on Instagram, you might have seen my post about the driver side lower control arm. It had some studs that sheared off. We had to replace those with just good old nuts and bolts. But it sits on the ground. I've sheared off some bolts on this upper control arm here. And it's actually looking like one of these might be separated a little bit, so we might have to find a solution for that. But I'm not really worried about that until we're moving further down the road. Because if I were to fix that right now, that's just taking time away from doing electrical grossness. And I don't really want to be doing that right now. So things that I've got are things like this, where I have, I'll get you up here a little bit. I have bare, uninsulated wire going into a connector. And this is by no means the only example of this kind of thing. And it's just gross. It's real hard to deal with. Everything's all greasy and grimy and oily. Whoops, there goes my little dental pick thing. And so they've all got these little weather boots on, which of course aren't doing any good anymore. And these look like the same type of little spade connector. See how this is a locking connector? He's got a little locking guy on him. Why doesn't the distributor thing have the same concept going on here? Wouldn't you think those wires, being the ones that make the car run, would be pretty important? So we got a couple strands here that are not connected at all. Just flapping in the breeze. And I'm going to trust that this wire can handle its function without them. If I can get that pin out, I'll probably be sliding some shrink wrap over him, but I got to look for that dental pick. And survey says he didn't make it all the way down. Oops, there I go, unplugging the laptop. Survey says he slid down here and he didn't hit the ground yet. So, yeah, here he is. We got him down in my puddle of fuel. Let's go into these connectors, and we're going to first take out all these pins if we can. If we can get these pins out safely and efficiently, then if we're lucky, I said if we're lucky. There we go. If we're just lucky enough, we can get these pins out, and we can take wires off of the pins. There we go. Okay, so there we go. That black one's all well and good. He's just our ground, it looks like. Not corroded. Of course, he probably wouldn't be, of course. You know, great power wire here, shorts out. He touches ground and melts his insulation, but ground wire can't short out. He's already grounded. So now I'm bending these little tabs back so that when I slip them back through the connector, it should snap in. And so, unfortunately, this wire is real gross and slimy. And I would like to heat shrink him, get something on him. Coil out of the way here. He goes pretty deep in there before he has any insulation on him again. So what we might do here is we're probably going to cut this guy, put a bunch of heat shrink tubing on him, and then crimp him back together. I think that's probably the safest plan, because I'm worried about undoing this connection and not being able to crimp that back together, or doing it improperly, or just bending that little connector beyond recognition. So, cut here. We'll get some heat shrink tubing, slap it on there, and we'll butt them back up. And electrical tool. Okay, butts, heat shrink. I really don't want to lose my distributor connector that I just knocked across the engine. Electrical tool. Electrical tool. I need an electrical tool. I'm not sure where it went. Ah, found him. Got this one of these, little universal guys here. This is like the best thing for this kind of shoddy electrical work that you don't want to be doing to a car. That's it. That's what you want right there. Okay, we got ourselves a butt connector. We're going to see if we have heat shrink tubing for this guy. Pretty thin wire. We should be able to use our tiny stuff. I don't want to use the common sizes and run out of them. So I'm going to see if we can jam the tiny stuff on here. No problem. Just got to be careful to catch every strand of this wire here. Okay, now all the way, almost all the way down. And oh, you're kidding me. It's not quite going to slip over the original. Oh, there it goes. Okay. Whew. It was looking like it might not slip over the original stuff. Let me go grab a lighter and we'll heat shrink this stuff down. I lied. Actually, I didn't lie. I got a lighter, but I also got a Pop-Tart. Because this is Lemons Live, and I'm hungry. I just got back from work. And I still have to work tonight. So here's our wire. Stuff down there is pretty good. We're just going to give him a quick little buzz. There we go. We're not looking for great here. We're just looking to get the job done. I want these wires to not be shorting out on anything. And then in a little bit, I'm going to look on my diagrams and find out if all these guys are connected where they should be. Hopefully we'll be good to go. So. Again, I probably should have just run brand new lengths of wire, but I'm not worried about that kind of thing right now. And then I'd have to deal with 2 butt connectors or soldering more stuff. And soldering to this ugly, grimy wire is very difficult if you've never done it. It doesn't like to take a solder very well. I found you can go ahead and get that stuff as clean as you want. You can put your flux on there, and it just doesn't want to take any solder you throw at it. So if you've got any tips for soldering on grimy old wire, ways to clean it, maybe like some alcohol or something, I guess I never tried that. That would be real cool. Okay, we got one half of the stuff done. We're going to go ahead, wrap the heat shrink down the this other length. And once we've got all the way right up near the end here, we're going to butt them together. And this wire will be done. We'll move on to the next one. Actually, that'll be it for this connector. We'll leave him unplugged because we're not 100% sure if he was in the right spot. I think he was, but I'm not really sure. I've got wiring diagrams to hopefully go through, solve that. A couple little strands here not connected to anything. Get them out of the way. Go. And how about I saw a half guy in there, but I'm not worried now. Just overlap this a little bit. No, I don't even need to, actually. fact, it looks like it'll be pretty good as is. Okay, let's see if we can butt these guys together. A bit long for a butt. Yeah, he's going to be a little bit long, isn't he? See if I can run him all the way through. I think so. I think this guy's a little bit too thick to go through the center of this connector. He is. He's just a little bit too thick. So I can go ahead and clip him down a size just by what was missing there. Don't want to make him too much shorter, but by throwing the butt in this wire, we are going to make him a little longer than he was before. So go ahead, crimp this guy down in there. Okay. Pretty happy with that guy. We'll find out if this size will not go over. We need the next size up. About out of this size, we're going to run out of heat shrink tubing. This very video, this very session. Okay, so now let's get this guy run back through where he's supposed to be. Get our heat shrink tubing up and ready. Again, I could probably do this connector without heat shrink, but with how badly all this other stuff is kind of rotted together, I don't know. I'd like to see some. There's a lot of stuff in here that's not. It's just crimped. Ugh, I don't know. I guess I should save this stuff in case I need to solder something. Oops. Or I'll just throw it on the ground. Lost it anyway, didn't I? Okay, let's butt these wires together. Make sure we're not crossed up in anything that we don't need to be. Sling that guy all the way in there. Hold him tight. Crimp to our heart's content. So I like to crimp all the way down the end of the connector. I don't like to leave that open and round. I just feel like it helps hold on to it a little better. But see, look at that. No luck. This stuff comes right out. Slip him right back in there. I don't know if it's just my tool or what the problem is. Never seem to get a good crimp on these guys. Just falls right out. Okay. This guy over here seems to be okay. You guys see something I did wrong? I screwed up somehow. This guy came in perfect. I can't pull him off at all, in fact. Cut him. And we're going to see if we can strip this stuff off like insulation. There you go. This guy too short? Is that what it is? He wasn't getting a good connection in there because he's too short. We can fix that. I don't know. Let's try another butt. Okay. The first side was way too long and I cut him down. And then he crimped in there perfect. So he's about that much too long. So I came in. We'll cut off about that much. We'll try again. And he's still a little bit long. Oh man, I go losing stuff again. This is why I buy the big packs. A little bit more. There we go. He just bottoms in there. That guy's not coming out like it should be. Not coming out. So as it looked like he would be, he's a bit long. We'll cut him down again. And now he's bottomed in there. So crimped. Okay, well, now he's good. Maybe I'm not supposed to crimp the ends. Was that what I was doing wrong? You're not supposed to crimp back here? Maybe that's how I screwed it up. I guess these factory ones are like that. They're only crimped in a couple spots right on the ends. Yeah. Maybe that's what I screwed up. I hope so. Let's go ahead and get this, get this connector put back together. Okay. Yeah. You know what? I'm not liking the gummy bits in here. So in fact, I'm going to leave that guy where I found him, hooked onto here, and we will leave these wires dangling near there, but not convinced that they're going to stay. Next one that I got to tackle is this orange wire here. That guy's correct. I know that one for sure. I looked him up yesterday. Let's see if we can get this guy out of here. Let's see what these guys look like. Just held in there by friction? Oh, they go that way, isn't it? Okay, let's try that. Well, if I go that way out, I won't be able to get him in there again, will I? How does that work? Wait. What? Sure enough, it seats in there, and there's no way to get him all the way through. As far as I can see. He can't come out this way either now, can he? These connectors, I don't know how they work. You're supposed to rely on the flexiness of the connector, perhaps? It might have worked 30 years ago when it was new. I'm afraid this stuff's just going to break. I guess I don't care as long as it's got the spade connector on it. Right? I would like to know how to do this, though. So I'm sort of looking at this one and trying to reverse engineer, but this one's kind of shot out this end, and there's no mechanism in here for holding this guy still. He goes in there, and he stays in there. He's not coming back out. But on the same token, this guy's not coming out the front. Sort of doesn't look like he's supposed to. Surely he got in there somehow. Don't cast these things around the actual connector, do they? That wouldn't make sense. But I see no retaining system that holds this connector in there. Well, I got him to go backward a little bit. There we go. I think it's just friction, I'm not sure. Now, unfortunately, this wire is pretty far gone, more so than the other one. And he's a bare about as far as this other one was. Let's see what we can do, though. I wonder if we were to clip him here, and clip him up here where the wire is still fairly acceptable. We're going to see if we can replace that length of wire. Now, I'm pretty sure we can. I don't think that's really the issue we're going for here. But how will we? Well, I've already got these pre-cut lengths. Actually, this is the last one from fixing the tail lights. He's a little bit shorter, but this wire definitely had plenty of room. I mean, he's practically where he needs to be already. So I think we're going to strip this guy down, and we're going to crimp him on there as well. We're just going to run crimp connectors instead of soldering everything, which I really like to do because of time constraints here. So we're going to bare this guy up, grab a couple more crimp connectors. I'd like to work on my crimping anyway. As you guys can see, I'm not great at it. A little bit long. I'll get the hang of this. Or maybe I'll just sneak away and go buy one of those little cool wire stripping guns that you can set to the exact length you want to do. And I'll match that here to the to these crimp connectors, butt connectors I've got. That guy's not going anywhere. That guy's going to be a bit long. We're going to cut him down to close to size and then try. We're going to try to intentionally leave him long. I don't know if that's actually a tip, but it makes me feel better. And these guys are a little bit too long, and I made them perfectly in there. So, of course, now he's a bit longer because I just pulled some more bad insulation off. There we go. Now he's looking pretty good in here. Perfect. Get a good hold on him, though. Not so much. Okay. It's a little bit finely balanced, but if you grab that, pushing him in the whole way. There we go. Okay, he's nice and tight as far as I can get him. And so now I'm going to run a little bit of heat shrink on this guy because I want to keep some of that wire left of that connector. There we go. I knew I still had a length out. Because although I bought all these butt connectors, I didn't buy any of the actual terminals, spade terminals and such that these guys need. So cut off half of that. Should be good. Otherwise, I would just, of course, run brand new terminals on all this stuff and new wires and hook it right in. But as I've made you guys aware, we're out of time for this stuff. Rally starts Saturday morning. Still work tonight, which is Thursday night into Friday. So I need to have this done. I don't have any time to be messing around with going out and buying new things. I'd be cutting wires and crimping stuff anyway, so I might as well be crimping butt connectors. There we go. There is our orange wire. Perfect. Okay, nice and tight. So this guy is our orange wire. He had a ground on here as well. Oh, I never put him back into his connector, did I? I found out how to get those guys out of the connector. I didn't even think to put them back in, did I? Okay, look at that. It's got ugly butts, but he's connected again. That's something to do with, I don't know, fuel efficiency or emissions or some garbage. Oh. Food break. I've earned it. I've done a couple of wires. So I'm looking for other wires, and I cut off a really bad one here. It was just bare wire hanging out about yay far, most of the way from the engine up to the radiator. And I have no idea where he's supposed to go. Now this connector here is a couple of green wires. And that's not where a couple of green wires go. Perhaps they go up here. See, there's so many of these things where these connectors fall into a good spot, but that's not where they're supposed to go. At least according to wiring diagrams that I have. So, we're going to put plug wires back on. Because it makes me feel better. It makes it look like I've done more than I actually have. And that gets me motivated to maybe actually do a little bit more work. There we go. Okay. Plug wires have returned to the car. More uncompleted projects. Temperature sending unit. I wanted to put them on the existing neck here. A little adapter in the radiator hose. But I can't get this guy out, so this guy doesn't go in yet. There's another adapter over there on the corner of the radiator. That's supposed to be the one that controls the fans. The cooling fans don't work. I'm hoping that by plugging everything in correctly, they will. If not, maybe I can sort of jump the relay. So now we got fuel distributor. He's going to go on over there. We're going to see if we can position you guys just a little better for this. Probably right where my food's currently sitting. Let's see what we can do with you guys. Let's take us off of the power cable. Walk around over here. And if I were to set you guys up on here. A big giant oil fill is going to be in the way, isn't it? Well, that should be a somewhat decent approach, I believe. That fuel distributor goes right here, so that's kind of okay. Let's go grab him and all of the fittings, banjo bolts, etc. I've rebuilt this guy, which is not something you can do. Like literally, if you've looked this up or if you know anything about these Bosch K-Jetronic fuel injection systems, forgot a part. Now, if you know anything about these fuel distributors for Bosch K-Jetronic stuff, the continuous injection, then you are probably fully aware that you're not supposed to take these apart and rebuild them. Reason being that this is a part that splits in half here, right along this seam, and it's machined from the factory, and it goes together with no gasket. Of course, you take it apart, you put it back together, your machined faces don't match anymore. And they really don't match when you don't know what you're doing, and you turn the whole thing sideways and really scratch it up when you're taking it apart. There's our fuel needle, though. This guy just sits in here and distributes fuel for us, like a little fuel wizard. What happens actually in these systems is that this is an air intake hose, goes from here to the throttle, and this is a little movable plate. Kind of lift him up and toss him around. Well, he is levered into an arm under that needle, pushes the needle up. As he goes up, of course, more air lifts the needle more needle movement, more fuel flow. It's really a cool idea, and honestly, I don't really see much of a difference between this and a straight carb. You know, it allows you to sort of adjust the ratio of one arm to the next a little better. Offers, I don't know, fuel efficiency or something. But really, I think that like GM's computer-controlled quadrajets did a better job of early electronic control before you went to the sort of post-width, more modern fuel injection, which I don't like, but is easier for me to understand. This stuff's a little weird if I think about it as fuel injection. It makes sense to me if I think about it as a carburetor. And I know that's probably not really how you're supposed to do it, because it works on a pressure. There's a fuel pump, pushes high pressure fuel into said distributor, and the air is simply acting as a sort of control valve, not actually drawing the fuel in through a vacuum effect. But again, I said it just helps me think about it that way, so I do. If you don't like it, well, poo on you. I got a bunch of banjo bolts here to put all these fuel fittings together. And if I knew what I was doing and knew exactly how all these ins and outs worked on this guy, I would probably understand what's required to bypass the electronic control and run this in just straight non-lambda mode, which is basically oxygen sensor controlled mode. But I don't really know much about what I'm doing, and so I'm just hooking it all up factory and assuming that that'll be good enough. We got a good handful of banjo fittings. Let's see, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 banjo fittings to go on here, which has got 2 inputs and 3 outputs. Don't ask me what they all do. Not a clue. I mean, obviously you would need 1 input for fuel in. I think the second input is probably from some sort of modulator that helps control pressure. Not really sure. One of the outs might go to that pressure regulator. 2 more outs, I'm not really sure. Guess maybe a return to the tank, assuming there is one. And I don't know. There isn't really so much an ECM in this car. There is a lambda controller that does make a couple of small adjustments from my understanding. But I'm going the wrong way with this because I'm not paying any attention. So I cranked this guy down by hand and decided I'm going to take him off with a wrench. I've got a ton of wires in the way here. Again, more connectors. I have no idea where they all go at the moment. Let's see, they're all tangled up in the computer. There we go. Guys, back up here. Slightly better viewing angle. And we're running into the edge of the computer there. Or the edge of, yeah. So yeah, this vehicle has an oxygen sensor and presumably uses that to help monitor and modify fuel mixture. But I would think, just like a modern car, it's sort of built with a fail-safe, right? Like, that oxygen sensor fails, surely you can't, the car won't only run on basically 2.5 cylinders. Yet that's pretty much how our car is running. So I think there's something else wrong with this vehicle. And I just dropped a freaking banjo bolt. Fuel fittings suck. I heard him hit. He hit pretty far down. Come on. I know all of my gasoline-soaked cloth is down here. I took this guy off and all the fuel poured out. I really need this one to go on next. And he's gone. Let's see if he fell to the ground. No. No, I wouldn't be that lucky, would I? Let me go find a light. Oh, sharp light, oh, sharp light. Oh, sharp light. And all the other garbage. Sharp light, oh, sharp light. Why do I bury thee? Okay, I'm going to look for this bolt real quick. Oh, I see. I couldn't see him because he's standing up on end. Holy cow, he's way down in there, isn't he? Yeah, we gotta resort to some heavy violence here. It's time for the little spring grabby tool. Okay, we've returned our banjo bolt, and hopefully we can get these 2 gaskets separated. They're supposed to go on opposite sides of the fitting. Come on. There we go. Okay. Gaskets are all separated. Let's see if we can do this better now. I know you can't really exactly see what I'm doing down here, so you just kind of have to trust me that I'm working with more banjo bolts and fittings. It's not pleasant. It's all coated in gas and grimy and oily and in a fairly tight space. But I wanted to show you guys what Lemon's Rally is all about. This is what I hope it's about. This is how we do it. We parked the car in February. We let it sit until August. We got it fired up and moved into the garage. It sat all of August, all of September, and a good portion here of October, until we decided, hey, our rally's like 3 weeks away. We should probably get on this. I'm like, what do you mean get on this? You know, make it not misfire. So pretty much what that meant was that I drove it into work all misfirey and everything and said, yeah, this car's still garbage. Let's take it on another 5,000 mile rally. 3,500 miles the first time around wasn't enough to torture us. Or that's what we'll tell you guys. It was horrible. But I've had the time off of work for a long time now, and I'm not going to sit around the house for 2 weeks and do nothing. Plus, I've already paid my money. I want in. I do better with a ratchet here, but wrenches are what I got. What I brought out. Go. Okay. And last banjo fitting, and then I've got the 5 injector lines. There are 5 injectors on these engines. There are 4 for the actual cylinders, and one, of course, for each. And then there is a 5th and final injector. Making sure my gasket's still on there and still okay. There's a bit of a problem with that surface. My light again. There's a 5th and final injector, the cold start injector, or the I don't know, enrichment injector, perhaps. Yeah, okay. I thought he might be a little torn up, but he's okay. And from poking around in my electrical booklet, it seems like he's used in a couple of different situations, cold start being one of the primary ones. Basically, he just fires up on a cold start, adds a little bit of extra fuel to the whole intake rather than at any individual cylinder. Helps fire up. But from my gathering, he's also used for as a sort of an accelerator pump shot. Maybe someone who knows a bit more about these systems can confirm or deny what I'm saying, because maybe I'm like way off base here, but that's my understanding of the 5th injector. He's up on top of the throttle here, or he's on top of the, yeah, it's part of the throttle body, and he's just behind the throttle plates. Okay, and so now we're simply running down each of our injector hoses. Actually, I guess I should probably put my other mounting screws on here. Get this guy run down completely. Screwdriver, there we go. These are kind of hard to reach once the fuel lines are on. And then we're going to jump the fuel relay and cross our fingers that this guy doesn't just spew gasoline from every orifice, every crack in here, as he is bound to do, I'm sure. Every time I take this apart so far, I've done it 2 times in the past. This is the 3rd time today. It just gets worse and worse and worse. And again, anyone who knows about this K-Jectronic system is sitting there like shaking your head, laughing at me like, yep, that's why you don't mess with those things. And I hear you. I wish I'd known. But I'm too stupid. I just thought, oh, that's not working very well. I'd like to check it, make sure it's clean. And hey, you know what? It wasn't clean. So what was I going to do? I was going to drive with a bunch of dirt floating around in them? Or would I risk taking it apart and apparently possibly breaking it, which is precisely what I did, but I know it's clean now. As clean as I'm happy with. It doesn't have to be great. It should be better than it was. Oh, let's see if we can get this fuel line run here. All these lines are like a semi-hard plastic, and getting them routed in the right way is kind of a little worrying. It feels like they always want to snap, like they're going to be brittle. And I'm not sure if they are going to be brittle. Two of these lines have been replaced, and I'm not sure why. If the originals snapped because they were brittle, well, I'm probably not helping these things by treating them how I treat them. But the only leaks I've had so far are from the new lines, the replacements. They're brand new and flexible still. I haven't had leaks with these old fittings yet. Watch. Well, that'll be the exact thing that happens this time around. I'll fire these up, and the body of this thing won't leak, but my brand new, or my old fuel fittings will, and my brand new ones won't. Get this guy pressed on here a little better. Then I wouldn't have to worry about leaks. There we go. I have had a few leaks from these new fittings. They kind of suck. I don't think it's the new fittings. I think it's the line they replaced this stuff with. It seems to be, it looks like it's probably another millimeter larger diameter. And I don't blame them. I've looked for this stuff online and I can't find where you're supposed to get it. Not sure what to look up to buy exactly this type of sort of yellow. It looks like surgical tubing line. I lost my injector. Where are you? 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. Why do I not have 4? Oh man, that's the water temperature sender. Oh man, how did I lose an injector hose, guys? Killing me. I'm reaching my hand up in here trying to find my lost injector hose. 1, 2, 3. How do I not have 4? That feels like one. There we go. That was complicated. Yeah, see, that guy's in there pretty good. Maybe he shouldn't leak, but he will. But yeah, I've looked for this stuff. I can't find it, so I don't blame whoever replaced these for changing it by a millimeter, because I would have thought the same thing. Who cares? It's the right stuff, and I can always just adjust the mixtures to fix that, counteract anything like that. So that's exactly what I would have done, and I don't blame them for it. And now we're going to move you around to this side, which is probably a better way to view this anyway. But when I turn this thing on, I don't want to spray the back of my computer with fuel if anything leaks, because you guys were leaned right up against the injector hoses. Now I've already got a fancy tool. This guy's pretty simple. He's a test lead with a paper clip, and you're going to jump the relay. But we're not going to jump the relay because the battery's disconnected. Let's go connect the battery and come back so you guys test this relay. Sorry, jump the relay and turn on our fuel pump and see what happens. Now, if I get it right, that fuel pump should run and no fuel should leak. If I did it wrong, I'm going to jump that relay. The fuel pump's going to turn on, and we'll see fuel seeping out of the cracks there. So our battery's connected. Let's see what happens. I do believe with this vehicle, the fuel pump relay is always live. So yep, saw him spark. I saw him spark. A little freaked out when that happened. There we go. Yep. Fuel pump is live. I don't know if you can hear it. I certainly can. Wipe up some of this red tack. I hear it flowing. I feel it flowing. And I'm not seeing any fuel leakage. We might have done the right thing here, guys. We might have fixed something. Okay. Now, I wasn't filling the engine with fuel, but it was bringing all this fuel up into the distribution block right here. If I had lifted this plate, it would open up some pressure in there and fuel would start to flow through the injectors. There's a bit of a down pull on this guy though when fuel's flowing because the fuel pressure pushes it down. So I think we're going to say that's good for fuel. I'm going to grab some more test leads. We're going to hook up our distributor wire, put our air hose back on, do a test run and see if this guy got any better in terms of running. This was my big concern right here. Fuel was pouring out of this thing. We drove the whole winter rally with this thing running poorly. I'm okay with that. When this thing was pouring fuel out all over the engine, not happy. So we're going to go ahead, find a few more of these little alligator test leads and hook them up to our distributor wire. I believe those are inside, so I will be back in a little bit, guys. I wanted to check something on here. Okay, cool. Okay, got myself a couple test leads. I'm over here off camera. And I'm going to grab this other guy. Actually, no, he's got my paper clips in him. We're going to grab the other test lead in the garage. And we're going to ground him. I don't know if this is going to work. These guys are tiny. I might have to find a better way to do this. Yeah, these alligator clips aren't going to reach all the way in there. I think we're just going to have to put these back in the connector and try to jostle them around. I sort of wanted that test lead idea to work, but it doesn't seem like it will. So that's going to go like that. Okay, that means our ground is this guy down here. Oh, I'm going to grab my tool. Guess you guys can watch this one, right? Here for. So we're going with these guys again. We got to put them into this connector, and I need my dental pick to get the little locking tabs on all these guys to sort of reset back outward. Go. I'm also double checking that each of these guys comes to a full close right here on the pinch, so that it has a good connection when he reaches in and grabs onto his terminal. For example, the green, he looks like he's a little bit more open to me. So we're going to give him a little bit of a pinch with some needle nose and see if we can make him a little happier. Or correction, we're going to see if we can make me a little happier about him. And unfortunately, it looks like the answer might be no. Man, I'm not liking the look of this stuff. I'm going to try pinching the little flared ends down a little bit. Should still be able to grab onto there, and they'll be open enough that they'll grab on, but there'll be hopefully a slightly tighter grasp on there. I'm liking the look of this a little better. There's the red or the brown, the ground wire. And here's the green. See how I pinch this end down and in a little bit more so he's narrower? Hopefully that'll provide a slightly better grasp. We're going to finish resetting these little tabs. Okay, 1, 2, and 3. Just for a little bit of a close-up there, we're resetting those tabs right there so that when it goes into the connector, we'll provide a more secure landing spot. Now, provided I can remember to put these guys in, facing the way they're supposed to. That guy had a good connection. And brown or green? Well, we gotta look this up on the wiring diagram, guys. I'm gonna shake you around a little bit because I need to make sure I get this right. Where is ignition? That's fuel. Ignition. Come on. Ignition. 63. I don't want to be on page 63. Let's figure out where we go for ignition. Engine electronics. Yes, I know. That's where I want to be. Starting fuel. Ignition is starting around page 78. Okay. 57. 67. And 79. Okay. Here we go. Let's find the wires coming out of our distributor. That's fuel system still. Ignition. Come on. There we go. 84. Okay. Now the distributor. Green is in the middle and the brown is on the outside. Okay. It's a good thing I looked that up because in my head I had that the other way around. Let's see. That guy falls in like that. In fact, I might check on this video because I feel like that's not how this was when I found it. So I'm thinking, based on what my experience with this car, someone has replaced this very guy right here. Come on. This 3-wire cable. I don't think this is the original one. I think it's either a replacement or has been taken apart and fixed again. And let's see if we can get back here so I know what I'm doing. And so I think maybe when they did this, maybe they screwed it up. I'm not sure if the ignition would fire at all if that had been done wrong. So I can't say for sure. But we're going to give it an attempt here. Get all of our wires up and out of the way. We're going to plug in the ones that seem to make the car run. I'm going to take a moment to put some of these tools away so I don't lose In terms of what electronics make the engine run, so far I found out this cable here, this harness, with all of his associated wires, which I haven't yet to actually fully trace down, despite the missing connections, he's required. And this throttle position sensor here is required. Everyone else seems, to me, optional. I think. Don't quote me on that, because I really know very little about what I'm doing here, guys. And also trying to keep wires out of the clutch. I'm going to come around to your side. We're going to move you a little bit. And I think we're ready to try a fire up. Coil plugged in. It's not going to ground anywhere. Okay. We're hot. I'm going to move you, put our air hose back on. Okay. Oh no. Oh guys, we got bad news. Oh man. You are kidding me. Well, he wasn't tight. Hopefully, that's the problem. Yeah, we're leaking fuel again though. We're gonna see how bad it is when we get started, but we're leaking fuel down here. Yeah, it's continuously leaking. Yeah. Right through there. Oh man. Said to use this stuff on all threads too, and if I'd done it on those little torque screws, I would be okay. Maybe I'll have to go back and do that. All this. Can't tell if this body is leaking or if the leaks on the body here were runoff from this upper leak. It's only around one screw that it seems to be leaking, where before it was a deluge. I mean, it was just dripping. But yeah, we've got a consistent leak going on here. But we'll be able to fire it up at least briefly. Find out if we've got everything where it needs to be. Your intake pipe, we're not even going to hose clamp this guy down. We're not going anywhere. We're just going to trust that the rubber makes a pretty good seal on its own, which it kind of does. You know, I mean, it creates a bit of vacuum, so it'll suck itself in, right? This is that shielded cable that I was just working on. He sort of wraps around everything for a shielded cable. I think you might want him a little bit more isolated from everyone, but doesn't seem to be how Saab chose to run him. So I think it looks like, well, I thought he was supposed to be connected. No, he's backwards. Okay, everyone's out the clutch. Very small fuel leak compared to before. Coil is good. Coil's not grounding on anything. Cover on. Various wrenches on the floor so they don't rattle and fall through the engine. And I think we're pretty good. Vacuum line right here. And here. Vacuum lines look good. So I'm not sure if you can see it. Our fuel leak is right here. If I wipe that away, it's coming up from that little, it's back into those torque screws that hold the whole thing together. let's see what we can do for firing him up. I hope we got everything plugged in. Oh, this is a tight squeeze. I'm parked right here on the edge of the garage. Okay. Don't mind the mess. We got our key, as you do. No luck yet. I think we might not have spark. I'm not seeing anything up at the distributor in the clear cap. I'm going to go look at it. Yeah, and those 3 wires I just messed with, they seem okay. I'm not sure they are. No spark. I'm trying to think if maybe I screwed something up that would prevent it from sparking, but I don't think I did. Nothing. I'm so confused here. Sorry, we're going to look at my beard for a minute because I have to check this wiring diagram. Hmm. 390, 391, 392. I just put those guys back in. Did I put those pins in the connector wrong? I may have done that very thing. Yeah, see, my thing here shows black, green, brown as the order for those connections. Let's see here. I know, weird facial expressions. Doing quick Google searches here, trying to figure out how this guy might work. Nothing conclusive because it's really hard to find anyone that has this cable and that runs it. I'm gonna tinker with some more wires, and then you guys are probably already shaking your heads at me because you saw me take that apart and not pay attention to which order the wires were in. Let's go look at it. So, did I screw anything here up? The answer is probably quite severely. And I'm losing you. Our fuel leak didn't get worse while we were cranking and opening the throttle, which I kind of would have expected it to a little bit. So, I think we're going to pull these pins again and try. See if we can swap them. Now go back to our little dental pick here. We're going to swap our brown with our green. Let's see. Yeah, see, now that I know how to get into these guys are super easy to swap out. So all you need to do is know how the connector works, which seems like really obvious knowledge, but of course, if you know how it works, it'll be easier to take apart. But do I know these kind of things? Of course not. That would be too simple. Okay, so we were running green in the middle and brown on the outside. But let's try running green in the middle and brown on the outside. See if we fire. You'd think if I was running them backwards, I would still see spark in the distributor just at the wrong time, right? That's not what I was seeing. However, I sort of feel like this is the way they were in before I took it apart and screwed it up. Was green on the end? Like I said, you guys probably paid more attention than I did. You know these things. I don't. But I also know that this entire cable was super sensitive before. And so it is possible that maybe this thing just needs a little bit further clipping and making sure that we're not letting too much of this insulation get stripped away so that all these wires are probably touching each other inside, which I think kind of might be the case right now. We're also going to try plugging this guy in. I know we're changing too many variables and we're not going to know which one actually fixed it. I don't care about the specifics. If the engine fires, I'm happy. Oh, yeah, new development. Door handle doesn't work on the outside. That's why this whole door skin is off. In case you guys were wondering. I'm not seeing any luck here. I see no spark up in the distributor cap. I'm going to disconnect the coil lead and check it there. Okay, I've propped the coil lead up where I can see it up under the hood, so I'll be able to see it spark if it is. Nothing. Back to the wires. What I need is like a little remote start button so that I can deal with this without climbing in. Now we get spark. Look at how easy it is to just tinker with those wires and screw up the whole thing. Okay, coil lead hook back up. We have spark. Let's hear how garbage this is. I bet it's still horrible. And we might have lost spark just by moving it that little bit. Oh, there we go. Okay, we're gonna fire. Still a real bad mess. There we go. Hey! See, it doesn't like to rev. It's sounding a lot better than it used to, though. It still has a pretty bad putter. But it sounds more like a 3.5 putter than a 2.5 putter. I'm gonna tinker with those distributor wires a bit. See if it fixes. Not sure if it was the temperature switch I grounded up there, or if it was because I released the distributor cable. I'd say the wires are grounded. Although I might have just killed spark. Let's try again. Yeah, we have no spark now somehow. This is it, guys. This is lemons. I don't know how we lose spark this easy. Apparently we shorted a fuel pump fuse and blew it out, but I'm not sure that's our problem. We still have no spark. Apparently not where you put that tool if you want it to come back. We're going to do a zip tie trick here. I lied. Hoping to find a way to zip tie that connector on tighter, but no luck. Now we've got really good looking spark though. I bet it runs smooth this time. If only we can figure out how to make it stay that way. Every other time I've grounded it up there on the hood, it's always been a yellow spark. This time it was bright white. And we lost it with that little motion. Is my spark problem the coil? Is that my problem? Do I need a coil, guys? test that. I'm positive it and just ground it, right? Oh. Worse. Been my problem this whole time. I've been chasing this distributor wire problem, and it's actually been a coil. Now there's a thought, isn't it? Maybe the coil ground is a little iffy. I don't know, I'm getting tired of this. No, distributor wires. Or maybe a combination. Guess I didn't think of that. I don't know. I'm not too pleased with this. We just managed to run the engine backwards for a few seconds. Yeah, it is all in that distributor wiring. Not sure how, not sure why. I turn this off. Okay. It's those distributor wires. We need to figure that out. I was thinking coil for a little bit. So now we got a different fuel leak. It's coming up from, oh, I don't even know. Jesus. This whole thing's just a mess. Maybe fittings on here? or it's coming up through different screws. Yeah, it's bleeding up through different screws. Don't ask me how, but the first screws have dried up. So now we're leaking out of this side here. These screws, as well as, of course, the main seam there, which is exactly what I was trying to fix. So we might take him off again and try again in a little bit. I'm getting a little desperate on that guy because I absolutely need him to work. And right now he doesn't. I also want to fish out my little pick, which fell down here into the coolant overflow tank. I can just touch him with the tips of my fingers. Got him. I think. There we go. Yeah, zip tie trick didn't work. We need to get these guys out and make them better. Connector right there. I cut this whole wire and get to each individual guy here. Let's see here. I had a razor blade rather recently. And of course, like everything else, right when I remember it and I want it, he's gone. Thought I had him right here. Let's go around the other side and find. Oh, he's right here, just off camera. So I'm gonna peel back this insulation just a bit. So now here's what we're looking at. This guy with the red connector who's labeled on everything as a brown or a black wire is the ground that shields. Oh, you're kidding me. Just managed to slip that blade up in there, didn't I? Maybe. There we go. Anyway, this cable labeled black and actually comes with this little red weird ass crimp connector. I don't know. It's like hard plastic. I'm assuming this wire is connected, but maybe that's my entire problem, I guess, isn't it? I also want to slip some heat shrink onto these guys and shield them completely. So we're going to start with that because that's the easier of the things to do. Of course, I lost that one good run of the heat shrink tubing that I had that is the size I'm going to need for this guy. And probably not any point looking for him because even if he still existed, he's probably all shrunk up now that I ran the engine. Let's see. I actually want the smaller size, but the smaller size won't go around these connectors. So I'm gonna find my little blue cutters because cut this guy. I guess I can do it with a blade. Let's do that. Right there on the radiator cap or the coolant cap. Slip that guy on there. He's super loose. Hope this comes down in there enough. Let's find out. Not looking good, is it? Burning the cotton inside of this. Whatever that cloth is. Not looking too good for this heat shrink. Not quite matching the size. I think I've heated it and shrunk it as much as it wants to. But yeah, it's starting to melt. I might have to unsolder these and resolder them again. Won't be pleasant, but you gotta do what you gotta do, I believe. Yeah. Pretty much just burn up that heat shrink. And then we're gonna cut this guy up and find out what the hell is inside of here. So now I do need the blue cutters. I might be doing some surgery on this connector here momentarily. This thing feels so solid though, but I guess maybe they pinched off the wire entirely in there. Okay. We're in luck. The red connector came out from there a bit. Well, that wasn't our problem now, was it? That guy was perfectly intact. Not exactly a crisp wire, but he was intact. So, not really sure. I could cut everything back down and put all brand new connections way closer to the actual shielding part. Maybe it's this tiny little length of unshielded stuff that's hurting it. I have to do some real tight surgery on these guys to make sure I can get them open and reuse them. Right there in the camera, and I still can't see it. The first part there is open. That wasn't too bad. Not so sure we're going to be able to open this other guy. Sort of main part right in here. No. We're going to go ahead and cut that wire down and just use that first little bit. Hopefully that makes a good enough connection. Get rid of our useless heat shrink. Take a connector. Put this guy down. That guy's not going anywhere. Let's see if doing that to the rest of them helps. Although I'm not convinced yet. ground guy shouldn't matter because he's just a shield. I've got the signal wires put up on there a little bit. I want to try maybe tossing a little bit of solder onto them and see if they'll accept it and help sort of blend them into this connector. I think we're going to try that. Let's get the soldering iron. Okay. Iron was easy. It's everything else you need tends to be the problem. Oh, it's fine now. Yeah, we didn't quite heat up that fast. Man, all this leaning over is killing me. Not quite. Feels like we're getting there, though. Yeah, almost there. Okay, we're good. Nice and more. Turned out pretty nice, actually, as far as I'm concerned. Let him in from the side here a little bit, too. Now I've pretty much completely encased him. A ball of solder. Might be a little ugly, but you know what? If this makes the car run better, I don't care how ugly it is. That would be a fact. Probably solder over the coolant hoses in the radiator overflow tank is probably not the best idea, but you know what? Again, that's lemons. If you had the best ideas, you wouldn't even be entering a lemons rally. It's not who we are. There are certainly people of not bright ideas. I might have gotten my iron a little hot here. It looks like we're pretty much evaporating this stuff. I can't get it to quite flow where I want it to. That's probably just my lack of soldering skill, though. Yeah, that's my lack of skill. Let's get ourselves a little bit more soldered, see if we can be a little slower about our heat. It keeps puffing onto me. Well, he's still not pretty. Again, if he ends up functional, no worries. If he doesn't end up functional, then it's just more to deal with when we go to cut him. Kind of suck. My plan Z on this one is to cut these wires back down to bare and then cut the connector off the distributor and simply straight solder these wires all together. Oh, rested my finger on my brand new hot solder. Let's put this connector back together and find out what he's going to do. There we go. Connector. Now I need to sort of reprime these catch tabs. Okay. Brown. Spacing that way. Built up a little bit too much on the side here. Still warm enough to melt it off. If only just. Yeah, not quite. Okay. We can fix it. A little more work, but we can fix it. Not going to be happy about being fixed, but we'll get him. Push that connector in just a little bit. Yeah, not quite enough. Yeah, we might have screwed up on that one. Not good. And we didn't leave ourselves enough wire either. Get in there completely. Yeah, we might have screwed that one up. We might be on plan Z already, so we can get to fixing this fuel distributor for the 4th time. And that sucks. A little bit too hard with that one. May have kind of broken it. He's not going in all the way either. Yeah, remember those big massive solders I just put on there? Not good. They're causing problems. Not good, guys. Not good. No. I'm going back. Ground out. These guys are out. Okay. We're running out of choices here because I'm really mangling up these connectors. There's not much else I can do here. So I think we're going to start attacking the distributor, find out if we can get this whole connector to come out, and see what we can do from there. A little inspection cover on the side of the distributor. We're going to see if maybe getting him off leads to the wires that we want to be at. So we're going to switch you around. And so we're going to be basically attacking this little inspection cover thing here. At least I sure hope that's what this is. Looks like it was a sort of cover placed in at manufacture time, right? Well, doesn't quite get us where we need to be. Not seeing my wires on there. Does seem to be an inspection cover of sorts, but not quite for what I need it to be. Yeah. Don't want to do that yet. Let's just go ahead. Lay out our plug wires. Disconnect our battery again. No point in running power to the car when we don't need it. Just in case we accidentally ground something. Distributor cap. Rotor going up on the shelf. Vacuum advance off. Now marked our timing. So hopefully when we come back to it, we can get it in the ballpark. Also read online that to remove this distributor, you have to make sure it's on the number 1 cylinder, which it's not. It is pointed at number 2, roughly. So I'm not sure. Last time when I took it out, it happened to land on number 1. It came out fine. But I'm not really sure if you're supposed to, like if you have to. Just good etiquette. What? So we might find that out here in a second. But I'm also stupid and can't remove a distributor. Of course, it is a little more difficult with 3 bolts as opposed to like Chevy with just a single bolt on the tie down. And this distributor is going to come right off, it feels. Yeah. I don't know what they were saying. So here's the bottom side of it. Tab's not quite perfectly lined up. And we're pointed right there in relation to our plug. We're going to try and get this plug out of here, find out where his wires are. Two small screws with washers up on top. This top plate guy comes out. Now, this appears to be a large sort of snap ring in there. Just a small snap ring. There's a little circlip. Seeing if there's any easy way to get to our guy. Not looking so good for us. Get a cloth and get some oil off of this. So, I think we're going to attempt to just take all these bits and pieces off. And of course, the first one I take off, I throw on the ground. We're going to set this guy down and go chase him. Looks like he landed in oil. Some of the making Saab. Okay. I see him. I just need to formulate the texture. Magnet grabber. Nope. I lied. I was looking at the wrong guy. Unfortunately. Another missing screw, but it's not the clip that I lost. Should be right in that area. Yeah, it rolled a little ways. That's our little clip. We just pulled off. Now it seems we have a small snap ring to deal with. Okay. Snap ring. Hold out this big snap ring whose orientation is like this. So the end of this ring sort of lines up with this connector a bit. Trying to pull the next guy out, but it seems his travel is a bit limited. Not sure what by. Well, unfortunately, guys, I seem to be stuck here. Get this guy to come up just a little bit, but he doesn't want to go much further than that. I'm certainly not trying to force anyone here. So, we'll pop our little inspection cover back on because we're certainly not getting any use from having him open. I wonder if I'm supposed to take these body screws out now and lift this whole thing out. Let's try that. And try the ones that hold on to the vacuum advance first. Again, small screws with washers. Vacuum advance mechanism. It's cool to see it work, but that isn't exactly what I'm looking for at the moment. I just stabbed myself with a screwdriver, as you do. Okay. So 4 of those little guys out. Well, vacuum advance mechanism came fully out. Just needed to lift him or push him down a little bit. Well, this is not thrilling, is it? So, I didn't gain myself any movement on that. Last screw I can find. This one looked like it was only holding on one of these distributor cap clips. Seems I was right about that. Yeah, that doesn't seem like it wants to come up. This connector doesn't really want to do much. Although it looks like he's got a sort of spring clip on him inside of there. Let's see if I can pry that up. Okay, yes, I can. Oh, spring clip here. Was down in there holding this connector in. Oh, look at that. Lovely. Oh, he's even got his own individual connector inside of here. Okay. This might not be as difficult as we thought it was going to be. Before I go too much further, I'm going to put everything that isn't necessary back together. It turns out I could have gotten away with a lot less of this here. So, our vacuum advance mechanism. Okay. Advance. Maybe non-functional. Oh well. Okay. Screw. As it seems none of these are actually like holding anything significant in. Okay, so this goes there. Who knew this was going to be a distributor rebuild day? Maybe someone more familiar with Saabs actually knew that ahead of time. I was like, no, you idiot. You're going about it all wrong. And you're sitting there telling me, oh, I warned you, I warned you. You know what? I didn't listen. There we go. Again. Probably a way to get this clip in once I've already screwed this guy on there, but I already broke one of the little arm and leg guys off of the other clip, and I don't want to stretch this one too far and break him as well. Parts that are probably replaceable, but I want to figure it out. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not able to get the vacuum advancer to move. We might need to tinker with that afterward. Here we go. That's our guy. That's how simple that was. So here's how that connector goes. So starting with the side closer to the tab, black, green, red. So that means I believe black to black, green to brown, and red to green. Should be the order that we have to attach these guys in. But I think we're going to put this in like this and try with the alligator clips that I told you about. And somehow we managed to start binding this up. that's why vacuum advance isn't working. We're going to take him off again and find out. I think I screwed up the vacuum advance when I put it back in. No, he's working. Simply grinding on something now. Just somehow put a screw in a little too far. Some noise coming from our distributor now. I'm not very happy about that. But that's what we do. We take things apart, and when we put them back together, they seem to not work somehow. Not sure what we did wrong. We also lost what little vertical motion we had on this guy. There we go. Motion's back. Not sure what's going on there. I see. Yeah, we put our vacuum advance on. And it's now causing an interference on the Hall effect sensor. The very sensor we're trying to hook up the wires for. I wonder if we're contacting our sensor and that's been causing our problem. I think the idea is to contact the Hall effect. There we go. Now we're not contacting it. I wonder if that's going to fix our problem. Or at least help it. Not be a problem for us anymore. My vacuum advance was working before. Actually, I don't. I guess I only ever tested mechanical. My vacuum advance might be junk. Yeah, I think it is. What do you know? Vacuum advance is garbage. We'll see if we can still put them in there, though. I gotta stand up. Now what's happening, guys, is this little tab down here mates up with a sort of little bump coming off the bottom of this wheel. I'm just trying to get the two to line up and catch. Of course, it did on just about the first try when I didn't need it to. But I think what we're learning here is that a vacuum advance is not functional, so we might not even use it. I don't really like the idea of not using it. Oh, I thought we had him. Let's right. Seems like it would be right there. But I go to get it, and it doesn't want to catch. Oh, not quite. I'm afraid if I leave it undone, it'll just throw my timing all over the place. So at least with this hooked up, it's got some resistance to it. And without this, I'll throw that whole timing wheel all over the place. And we're pushing it away, but we can't pull it back like this. Man, how the hell? Freely flying around again. Man. This sucks. I'm just going to keep attacking this for a while. Man. Well, thanks for joining me, guys. This is where I'm going to leave you. I'll post some Instagram updates, hopefully when it's running. This thing's irritating me, though. I'm going to need to go inside and take a break. Oh, wait. Literally just got it. Right when I say I'm going inside. Watch me lose it here. Yep. Okay. I still have it. Maybe not all hope is lost yet. Okay. Looking healthier now, guys. Other than a screw that doesn't want to go in. From the actual correct angle. There we go. The screw's a little happier when you put them in at the correct angle. And we're back to making noise. I determined I don't care. Our vacuum advance isn't just floating around anymore. Or our Hall effect sensor, at least, that be affected by vacuum advance. So now we're going to try to put this guy in and find out if our alligator clamp method works. Okay. Back in there, those guys get lined up again. I need to put all my circlips and stuff in. Not yet, but done again. So, order we did this. Just drop everything down on the floor again. This guy went in pretty much this angle here. I'm dropping all the extra stuff I found on the floor. Almost down to his groove. Okay. A little bit further. And right about there. That's where he lives. In all honesty, I'm not even sure this guy's 100% important in his direction of facing. But still got to do some snap rings and such. So just kind of eyeballing everything, seeing how it works. Snap ring goes in. He snaps. The circlet goes up on top of him. There we go. Let's just drop everything, right? Find the groove for this guy, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to get him in. not doing so well, guys. We're dropping everything on the ground. Drop this guy down into the area of his groove, and then furthermore, and then trying to push him in. These pliers. Sure, there's a better way. I'm sure there's a tool for this, but again, when you're running lemons and you're cheap, you don't have the special tool. When you don't have the special tool, you make do with pliers. So, all of our clips are back in. The only guy we don't currently have is only guy we don't currently have is going to be the clip that that holds that connector in, because of course our connector is no longer in. So why would we have his clip, right? Okay, seems this guy's orientation might have mattered. Oh, we dropped our snap ring a little too far. This bigger guy. That's what it is. He needs to ride high in his groove in order to be grabbable by these short screws. Okay, there we go. There's a tab there. There we go. We got it. Okay, like I said, we're going to slap this guy in and try the alligator clip method first. And if this guy works okay on alligator clips, then we'll be fine. Should be just a little bit this way. Okay. Looks good to me. Yet, getting some resistance. There we go. Okay, he's seated in there pretty good. He's not going anywhere. Go ahead and line ourselves up. Drop in our little adjustment bolts. So we can get them all lined up properly. Oh, is that what I dropped some time back? My 10mm? Looks like I did. I thought I heard something going down there a while ago. Yeah, he's hidden way down in my intake. And further in my intake. Okay, well, let's try putting this guy into another place where we can actually get him started. There we go. That's looking better. Okay. And let's grab our magnet tool, grab our wrench. Okay, that works. Close enough for our adjustment. This guy's in such a tight spot over here. barely get any movement on him by hand. There's a lot of movement by wrench. So wrench it is, I guess. Okay, so now that I know we also have like what seems to be a pretty major vacuum leak from our vacuum advance unit, maybe I should just not run the vacuum advance hose or plug it. Because there's another vacuum hose that's been disconnected. That's no fun. I'm trying to see if this thing runs better, and I've got vacuum leaks. Has that been my problem the whole time? A vacuum leak? I don't think so, because I was messing with those distributor wires and it was really causing the car to actually stall. So surely it wouldn't just be a vacuum leak. Now, did I have a vacuum leak that was helping cause a problem? Sure, probably. It would not surprise me. Hard to get any motion on this bolt yet. I think we're close to tight. Of course, tight is completely relative. I have no real good, reliable reference for timing. I've tried to time it, but it wants timing done at a specific RPM. And I can't do RPM because the tach doesn't like to work all the time. See? That's just sucking air. Not only is it sucking air, but that opens straight up under the onto the camshaft and valve cover and all that business. So go. Got one clip. Clip on. Man, this is dirty business. Just got our plug wires back together. I know number 3 is on top, and then I'm just reading the firing order off the valve cover. 3. And then 4. And then 2. And then 1. Cool. That's how it does it. Lead in place. And we're going to do our alligator clamp. So it was black. Where did that guy go? Okay, black to the black. Green was on the outside. I'm screwing it up again, guys. Who knows? I'm giving up on all this by now. And brown, whatever's left. Hopefully I can get him on there. And he's totally going to short the other guys. Let's go high. No, I can't. Oh, they're not all 3 going to fit. But we don't care about this connector so much. So I'm going to bend these guys outward a little bit, give them a little bit more room. So if this fails, I'll just go straight to the wires. Actually, if this succeeds, I have to go straight to the wires. So there you go. So maybe green on the outside, maybe green on the inside. I don't really remember. Pull him out just a little more. Side ones. pretty good angle. Doing this, guys. Spreading these guys out so that room for my alligator clips exists. Alligator clips, test leads, whatever you want to call them. They're not big, but we can shield these guys from each other. Would be ideal. I think we may just have managed to do that. Real sketchy ignition wiring, check. Wow. Yeah. Very check. Very check on sketchy wiring. Oh geez, and our brown is actually possibly shorting out. This is where I have him connected. Let's go ahead and make these little alligators swallow these guys completely. Now, this is supposed to be a shielded cable, probably for a reason. Probably because running these right next to ignition wire is going to cause interference. But I say let's find out. So we haven't changed anything since it ran, except for sort of bypassing some wires and such. So, tools on the floor again. I don't like things vibrating and getting lost in the engine. Test leads up and out of the way. Connectors down. Okay. These guys are touching. Now they're hovering. Those guys are floating. All my electrical stuff down on the floor. Now let's go inside for another attempt at firing this beast. Oh man. Now in theory, we're still going to be attempting to enter a rally getting to the start line tomorrow. It's looking a bit iffy. Thought I had my garage door control in here, but that's okay. Oh! Well, we still got some putter. It's not great. But I'm getting a pretty decent rev out of it. It sounds pretty healthy. Before, it wouldn't want to rev very much. So I'm thinking that maybe this rattle that I have now is still just some exhaust rattle. It does sort of sound like a bit of a stumbly, giddy up misfire. That's it, guys. That's all I can do right now. I'm going to have to go in and take a break, and I may come back and work on this some more, or I may come back and simply sort of finalize these wires and try driving it in. But I am going to need to tackle this fuel leak again. Every time I run the car, it wants to just pour fuel out of these screw holes and everything. But there we go. That is a Lemons Thrash, about 3 hours worth, I think. Ugh. This is not fun. But it will be when we go down Route 66. I'm just on my right here. Got leaking fluids, no big deal. But it should be pretty fun. So keep on my Instagram for some updates. And it seems like we might have just fixed our distributor wiring here. Oh, this mess. I'd like to fix all these sensors, hoping it'll work better, but that's very optional. A lot of other stuff we want for optional. Dashboard would be nice. Radio, alignment. transmission oil. That would be nice too. So, big long checklist of things. I've pretty much accomplished the Hall effect sensor wiring, kind of fixed. We cleaned up some bad wiring that was in the engine. Check. Putting some heat shrink tubing on it and whatnot. And that was all I was extremely worried about for our absolute needs. So thanks for watching, guys, and take care. I'll see you on the Lemons Rally.